Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about when Amy Schumer was accused of stealing jokes, and one of the writers for her show, comedian Kurt Metzger, was trying to defend himself and Amy, and he failed miserably and probably only made things worse. I mean, he handled this probably the worst way possible. He was getting so defensive and worked up about it, and like this comment says, he did a good job of convincing people she did steal the jokes, so he would have been better off just staying quiet. Like Kyle Dunnigan, he was also a writer on the show, and I don't think he talked about this much, which was probably a smart move. All I could find is just this one post he made about it, and if he did talk about it, I'm sure he had a more well thought out response. I mean, even Amy, I'd say, handled it better. Like, at least she didn't get all worked up about it like Kurt did. I mean, this guy, he let the trolls get the best of him, and he spent way too much time ranting about it on podcasts and responding to the trolls. And it's not like anybody is even questioning him about it in person during these podcasts. Like, most comedians actually were on his side and defended Amy. Even comedians she allegedly stole from were defending her. Like, Joe Rogan even said comedians were taking it easy on her.
If she was anybody else, though, how about this? This is true. If I didn't care about her, if I wasn't friends with her, if she was anybody else, people would want her head. Like comics like her. There's definitely a more kid gloves approach from the comedy community, except for the girls that she stole from or allegedly stole from or they believe she stole from. They went after her and then they pulled back.
Yeah, so surprisingly, most comedians were defending her, except for obviously the ones that called her out for stealing their jokes. But like Joe said, even they ended up backpedaling. So there's really no need for Kurt to get this defensive about it. But you could tell the trolls were getting to him, and he just couldn't stop reading comments, and he couldn't stay off social media. Like right after the story blew up, Kurt was on a podcast talking about it, and he was basically trashing the comedians she allegedly stole from, and he said their jokes were hacky, and the only thing Amy's guilty of is using hacky material, which he's not wrong about. I mean, she's definitely guilty of that, but also him saying this stuff is not making things any better, because him getting so fired up and defensive about it makes it seem like he could be guilty. And then also the fact he's responding to troll comments makes more people want to troll him because they know it's getting to him.
I was there in the room when the sketch came up with. A group of people threw out ideas, and it turns out that's what people think of when they decide, like, oh, diet ideas.
If you're rich.
Now, Kathleen, I assure you, none of us are the Iowa State Fair that saw you do that joke. I promise you. It's just a coincidence, and your joke wasn't that clever. It's a thing anybody could come up with and did. Well, so we're bad for being hacks. That's really what it comes down to.
Right.
We were hacky enough that a road hack was like, they traveled to the Bob and Tom show and heard me do that. No, nobody knew you did the joke. Sorry.
No,
okay?
that's the thing.
Get him, Kurt.
This
is Kurt.
hit him up.
Then the sketch bullshit, magician never fucking heard of. Somebody brought Mad TV, which, by the way, I've never watched or enjoyed. And it's the only thing that's similar is this are the sketches about white people having a hard time saying someone's
a black
race.
Person.
Oh, only one person could have thought of that 15 years ago. We're not Mad TV fan. This shit happens. SNL goes through it all the time. All these guys from Reddit, because I'm sitting here on Twitter, I did my fucking Amy doesn't steal or what, that I'll put up publicly, and then you can't talk back too much to the people. Because I'll be, some guys, but you have to admit, word for word, those sketches, I go, yeah, no, dude, they weren't saying, and then I'm like, oh, wait, your name is Tits McGee. You know what? I don't think I need to continue explaining anything to you.
Tits makes some really good points, don't
A guy named Tits McGee with Patrice's headshot as his profile picture is lecturing me on originality and shit.
And then also he keeps saying it's a political thing because Amy started getting more political, so now right-wing people want to take her down, and he's saying Gab McGinnis is mostly responsible for everybody going after her and all the joke theft accusations. And also I think they said Miley Yiannopoulos was going after her too, which again, these are two trolls pretty much. So responding to them probably isn't the best idea, and there's more than just Gab McGinnis and Miley Yiannopoulos fans that think she stole jokes. But to be fair, I'm sure Kurt is mostly hearing from their fans on social media because they like to mess with people. But this was a huge story at the time, and a lot of people are talking about this, and anybody could go watch the clips for themselves and come to their own conclusion. And also just the fact that Joe Rogan said since comedians really like her, they kind of took it easy on her, makes it seem like they probably did think she stole some jokes, but she was getting so much hate they had to defend her.
By the way, I just got done fucking text yelling at Gavin. You know Gavin?
Yes.
Who's my friend? But I mean, what a guy who confidently just talks, not knowing what the he's talking
But
about.
I think that's part of his whole thing. I think it's almost like his
dude,
joke.
And I really don't give a shit, but the whole Amy pile on now.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Have you had an answer for that? I mean, it's retarded.
First of all, he goes for the magician thing because Kyle's coming later. He goes, well, you got to admit those are pretty close. Like, yeah, they're close because they were both. How would we know about a Vietnamese magician before we made this sketch? This is a political thing because that feminist shit,
the guns,
and the gun thing, and they are out to get her, and that's why they're taking shit you could do to probably any comic at 10 years in. I go, Gavin, how come every good comic is saying what I'm saying? Here's why it's a thing, a pile on now. And I found out from Gavin let it slip. Gavin said it. He goes, well, I would have her back. Then she said she's been playing a racist Republican character. She made that quote that my character on the show is a racist Republican. And Gavin goes, so her. I'm like, okay, so you have an agenda.
So you're saying
all the
everyone's got an
people
agenda.
piling on her now, I'm telling you, are Gavin fans. And the reason I know is because they keep calling me a cuck for defending her. Because for some reason, Gavin popularized misusing the word cuck.
Yeah, so he handled this very well. I'm sure this really shut people up. I mean, after this, there are probably even more people trying to mess with him. And it's hilarious because just soon after this, Amy fired him or let him go because people were trying to cancel him. But it didn't stop him from continuing to try to defend her because over 2 years later, he was still going on about this. And this time on the biggest podcast in the world. This is insane. Like, why would you want to bring this up and draw more attention to it? Like, I'm sure most people forgot about it at this point or didn't even make the connection between Kurt and Amy because even though he was talking about it a lot, it was on smaller podcasts. But then on the Joe Rogan Experience, he decided to randomly bring this up and start going off again, which I'm sure caused like 99% of the people listening to be like, what is this guy's deal? Why is he getting so defensive about this? It sounds like maybe Amy did steal those jokes. And it's hilarious because Joe is trying to get him to calm down. He's like, dude, no one knows what you're talking about. And also Kurt's defense is even worse than last time. And again, he brought this up out of nowhere. There's no need to talk about this again.
My whole thing was you don't know what's funny. So if I tell you, there's that whole joke thief shit there. I'm like, listen, I was there, and also I know comedy, and I know better than you jerk off at home. So if I tell you, just think I know better. I just put it that way. Maybe that's arrogant, but I just been doing it for 20 years, and you never had the balls to get on stage. So I think I just know better. They're outraged.
You're fighting with someone who's not even here. Nobody even knows what you're fighting over right there. You just started some joke thief fight. No one has any idea what you're saying.
All right, guys, is when I defended Amy.
Right.
Amy, and I had people like lecture, and I'm like, don't presume to tell me shit. But they're outraged. But the same as the social jihadis, they all think they can. The same reason I became a comic. I could do that. So but at least I did it. If you get on stage and do it, I'll give it to you. But these people think they can do your job.
But hold on a second. In their defense, they're looking at a film that shows time after time bits that
Gavin made to specifically fuck her because she said I play a racist Republican.
What?
The little YouTube video where they took movies, the show, which by the way, she doesn't write the show. It was ridiculous, and it was exactly what the fucking SJWs did to me, where they don't like they think you have an agenda they got to destroy, so they create this, like a smear job.
Yeah, so the trolls must have broken this man's brain. I mean, this is 2 years later, and he's still going on about it like it just happened. And his defense is so bad, just saying, I'm a comedian, so I know better, you gotta trust me. It doesn't matter how bad those clips look. Listen, I'm the comedian here, I know she didn't steal. And again, it's just so stupid to bring all this back up, because I'm sure a lot of people are just hearing about this guy for the first time. This is not the best first impression to make.
But wait a minute. There were bits that were exactly the same as bits that were on
mediocre bits that anyone would have thought of?
Dude, relax.
I drank two caveman nitros and you're talking to me this way.
I do. I knew this. But you're arguing against someone who's not even here.
Well,
right?
I was trying to bring up why they were going at me. That's why.
But the problem with what you're saying is they have evidence. They're looking at one bit, and it's exactly the same as another bit.
If I look at the evidence and I come to a different conclusion, let's go with my conclusion because I was there.
What about due process?
And the guys who are saying it,
there's a due process guy.
That's not enough. That's not enough to convince someone. Oh,
dude,
just trust me.
Do you think we in the writers' room?
But isn't that like some authoritative sheriff type shit? Just trust me.
Hey, I'm not going to them.
To the sheriff.
I'm not going to them. They're coming to me.
But you're saying just trust me. I'm watching this video. I'm watching these jokes. They're being repeated. You're saying just trust me.
What
You're wrong.
jokes are you talking? I'm talking about sketches people claimed were taken, which is nonsense. I was in the room with that shit.
Okay, but that doesn't mean anything.
No one watched Mad TV in the room. Sorry.
Stop. That doesn't mean anything because the bit still got on the air. See what I'm saying? Like, you might not
But it didn't happen intentionally.
Listen, it doesn't matter. That's what you have to say.
And also him saying that none of the writers were fans of Mad TV or watched Mad TV at all is kind of hard to believe. Like, I don't know how this guy doesn't realize he's only making things worse, and he's embarrassing himself in front of Joe Rogan because, you know, Joe always tells people not to pay attention to comments. So the fact that this guy's bringing up some troll comments from 2 years ago, I'm sure Joe's kind of annoyed at that. But also it seems like he's trying to help him out, but this guy's not doing himself any favors.
Can't say that these people don't have actual examples of the same bits over and over again. If it's parallel thinking, that's fine. But it has to be explained.
That's what I said.
But you didn't really. See, the whole thing about
You
this
mean
is
just
you're
now
saying
or at
everyone's
the time?
innocent.
I'm very confused.
I'm very confused.
The whole thing
okay.
from the top down.
Well,
like,
look, I don't give a shit about it, by the way.
If they see the evidence, right? You have to you have to be real clear and non-confrontational when you're handling something like that.
But, dude, I won't. First of all, number one, the larger issue is I never should be on social media talking to any of these f***s at all, explaining it. I don't owe any of you, anybody listening, if you have a question or a judgment, I don't owe you an explanation for shit.
I understand
I don't
that,
know
but-
where the f*** you got the idea that I do. So I was wrong that I even had an answer at all, because you have people, hey, joke thief. Really, that's the word about me, that I'm a joke thief. From some know-nothing, and they just want to see I'll talk back to them.
There
Most
might
of
be
these
that,
animals
but
can't
there might
believe
be
you're
that they
speaking to them.
think that you did steal it, and you got to explain how this was parallel thinking.
Yeah,
This is amazing. Now he's going off about how he shouldn't even be responding to these people. Yet it's 2 years later. He's on the biggest podcast in the world, and he's addressing them once again. I mean, this guy's out of his mind. And Joe tries to explain to him right here, the reason people are messing with him is because it gets to him and he responds to it and he's confrontational. And he's like, well, I like being online. I like arguing with these people because it's just so easy.
And you're blurting it out like that someone's arguing you in the room.
Oh, I'm just I was getting shit for defending Amy from these alt-right dudes.
Right, I understand. But it's also because you're confronting them. Like, you're confrontational.
Yeah, I like to.
Someone
I was
likes
like,
to
oh,
actually
I
hear a
like being
ring.
on. I like being online, and also it seemed like of no consequence to me. I'm like, I got all this other shit going on. I can with one hand sit here and answer your dumb shit. I was like cocky.
I understand.
And,
I understand. But
yeah.
what I'm saying is from the perspective of someone who's a stand-up
dude.
fan. For you to say it defensively, to brush it off and say that you know better than
Oh, you know
they
what?
do.
I'll tell you why. Because the way someone would come at me would
They'd be rude.
immediately
Yeah.
like, why are you speaking to me this way?
Yeah.
So it
you're
really
already
does that.
defensive. You're already defensive.
And it's also hilarious. Jamie uploaded this as a clip to YouTube. So a lot of people have seen this. And pretty much every comment is like, what is wrong with this guy? But thankfully for him, Joe still has him on the podcast. And he was on Kill Tony with Joe a few weeks ago. So he's just fine. Hopefully he finally got over the troll comments. And hopefully he doesn't watch this video. That might not be too good. But let me know what you guys think about it all down in the comments. And then make sure you go check out my Patreon account. There's a ton of exclusive content up there. I think there's probably around 40 videos at this point. And I just posted one about Jimmy Fallon getting canceled. I also have one about the time Amy Schumer was on Joe Rogan's podcast. And there's this really cringy moment where her and Joe got into this weird argument. And then I also have videos about Michael Richards, Kramer's infamous meltdown at the Laugh Factory. Then I also have one about Tony Hinchcliffe getting canceled and Ari Shaffir getting canceled and Adam22 getting canceled. There's a ton of stuff up there, so make sure you check it out. I'll put a link in the description, and then hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video.